What's going on, everybody? Back with another video here, and in this video I'm going to cover two things. The first thing is going to be a follow-up on the scope, what I think of it so far, and that's pretty much it with that. And the second one is following up on my DMR build. Now, the first video we went over all the parts and why I chose the parts, and that the purpose behind the build was to do a budget build, but not cheap. So let's just dive right into it. So here we go. Here, this is the scope. 2.5 to 10 by 44. It's got the Griffin mill reticle. This is the Primary Arms Gold Series GLx4. Awesome scope. I got to take it out to the range two times so far. Sighting in the rifle and just seeing how it was. The first time I took it out, it was gloomy and snowy. I don't have footage of it. And the second time I went out, it was earlier today, where it was a lot of overcast, very cold, and it held up just fine. Sight picture is great. I can see no edge-to-edge distortion that I can make out. The reticle is nice and crisp once you get your diopter set to your eye. The turrets, I didn't do a tracking test, but moving around, trying to set my zero, knowing what I had to move, how many mils up, down, left, right, and from that aspect, they track perfect. Tomorrow, depending on weather, it's supposed to be another crappy day. I do want to go out there and shoot some groups. This time I'll shoot this first and then do whatever else I was going to do, because earlier today and then the previous day, both days was just a range day for me and my wife to go out and have some fun. No kids. And we spent about 2 hours on the pistol range with a pistol and another firearm that I'm going to put out on the channel. So by the time I got to the rifle range to do groups, I was already burnt out, and I was cold. It wasn't fun at that point. But anyway, so back to the scope. Great glass, great build quality, turrets track easy, adjusting them for zero stop and zero lock, easy, super easy. A good video to watch if you are more hands-on visual type learner, where you can read and understand the concept, but seeing it is going to be a better way for you to learn or to retain that information. Country Mash did a video on these turrets, and he covers them very well. So, being that it was cold, the first day we went out with the scope, it was low 20s. Today was, I think, high 20s and maybe low 30s. But there was no binding on anything. The diopter was nice and smooth. There was no added resistance because of cold. The same thing with your magnification. Turrets moved freely. No tightness or increased resistance due to coldness. The same thing with your parallax adjustment and your illuminator dial. So the one thing I did notice is that at the 100-yard range, which our range up here is exactly 101.3 yards, to get parallax perfect, it was more along the lines of 75 yards marked on the parallax. Now, those numbers on just about every scope are they're just reference points. If you go into the higher end scopes, a lot of them just don't even have numbers. They have more of a triangular graduation that goes from minimum to maximum, or it's minimum setting to infinity, and you just pretty much adjust it until you've gotten all the parallax out of it. Tabor Rex has some videos that cover that. That's great. If you're doing anything scope related or long range shooting, and YouTube is your only means, he is a phenomenal channel to watch. He breaks everything down to the absolute minute piece of data that you can possibly think of. Very smart guy. But reticle, super crisp. I can see everything that I wanted to see and more through the glass. Now, I will say, and I may end up changing the battery out on this just to double check, but from what I can see, the illuminator illuminating the chevron is not daylight bright. Now, daylight bright, as Mr. Guns and Gear says, is how do you say it? It's all based off personal preference for who the shooter is. To some people, daylight bright means it's visible no matter how little visibility there is, and to some people it's basically red dot bright. It is minimally visible from what I can tell at its highest setting at 10, but for me that doesn't matter because I don't really use illumination on scopes like this. I reserve that for red dots, so on and so forth. If for any reason you had this on like a 16-inch barrel or whatever the case is, and you had to clear a building, just even if you took a training, you turn the illuminator on, you don't see it outside, you will see it nice and bright as soon as you step indoors. So much so that 10 is a little bit too bright. You get a little bit of washing out on it, but which is fine. It's fine for my application. What I want to use this for, this is all stationary shooting, coyote hunting, whatever else I can use this for. But the main goal was as an SPR DMR role, and hopefully I can take this out to some type of class like that. I have taken classes in the DMR SPR role as well as long range precision out to 1,200 yards with another rifle that I had. But yeah, this I definitely plan to run this at a class at some point. It all depends on what these classes dates fall on and how my work schedule is, because I have to travel for work, and that messes with a lot of things. So I love this optic. I think even at the price that it's set at, it's a phenomenal deal. I think if you bought this at $749.99 as it's listed on the website before the closeout, it's a great deal. You're not going to go wrong with it, and I would say that you'd be hard pressed to find something that's going to give you the feature set that comes in this with the glass clarity and the build quality at that price point. I've had Vortex scopes. I do like Vortex, but I think the primary arms beats Vortex in my opinion. Everybody's mileage may vary, but to me, for what you're gonna get at the $750 price point for Vortex as opposed to the GLX line, the Gold Series line, I think the Gold Series line takes the cake. There is one thing I wanted to cover. I briefly mentioned it in my last video, but I didn't have any definitive information. The reason for the closeout, from what I understand, and because I commented on Primary Arms Facebook page, was that the trademark office disallowed a trademark that they put in for. And from what I gathered, it's some issue with the design turret and something else. And I would imagine it has to do with some of the engraving and stuff, because the response that I got back was that they're still going to produce the Gold Series. It's going to be the same exact scope with some engraving changes. They're going to have some different engravings on it, I guess, to meet the trademarks, and and it's going to be put out. So the next batch that comes out, which is supposed to be around the beginning of the year, these are they're going to be the same exact, so same glass, same reticle, same quality. So if you're worried about maybe not having the money to do it now and losing out on getting this line of optics, you don't have to worry. They will come back. So that is pretty much it on this. The Z-Locks, I mean, these things are these got to be the best turrets I ever used, man. And I mean, they're solid. You get no play whatsoever. Once you have it set to wherever you want to do for your elevation and windage, and they just come back and they lock right in with no problems. I mean, super smooth, super smooth. Yeah, these are definitely my favorite turrets. Everything is easy to actuate. I mean, I love the rubberized texture here, and it doesn't have it here on the magnification ring, but for the illumination ring, it does, and I really like that a lot. Not sure why they did it. I'm assuming for grip, and maybe because since this protrudes a little bit more than your windage, maybe it'll give some type of extra protection if it bumps into anything, especially gear. Considering that most people are right-handed, so if you're carrying it, you're gonna have this rubbing up against stuff, depending on what you wear. So everything seems good with the scope mount. I've never used the Vortex cantilever scope before. I have some other Vortex rings, and I've used Burris, Warren Tactical, a bunch of different scopes, scope mounts, and this one seems to do very well. My go-to are Warren Tactical. They've always been rock solid for me, but this I actually got purchasing another primary arm scope, the 1-6 Raptor. I got it from a buddy he used. Never even shot the damn thing. Put this scope mount on it, and it sold it to me for $250. So that's where this came from. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break this video here, because this is just covering the scope, and I will make another video talking about the entire setup of this rifle, what I went through with it, how it's shot so far, and we'll go from there. So see you in the next video.